Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some time with me on the video. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we're going to be discussing the topic if the color of your boat, like the bottom of your boat and the sides of your boat, has any bearing upon how many fish you catch. I've got some pretty strong opinions on this because I've sort of not only conducted my own personal study over the past 30 or so years with this, but I've also talked to a lot of other anglers. And the determination from this data that I put together, I think you guys are going to find it pretty interesting. Also, guys, just a couple quick housekeeping tips that you dread every day, and I know that a lot of you guys fast forward through, but I appreciate you guys listening to it. Just want to invite everybody to please subscribe here to the channel if you hadn't had a chance to do it. And also just a big thank you, and I wanted to send a big thank you from me and my family for everybody that's been using the links that I put in the description, especially my Tackle Warehouse link. By using and bookmarking that link to purchase your tackle, you're really supporting the channel in a big way, so much appreciated there. Okay guys, a little backstory on this. Back when I was growing up in grade school and in high school, Doug Hannon was sort of my fishing hero. He was a big deal back on Bassmaster magazine back in the 70s and early 80s. And Doug was, a famous big bass fisherman. At the time, he was arguably the top big bass fisherman in the country in Florida. He'd caught hundreds of 10-pounders, like 300 bass over 10 pounds in Florida. And this was before California and Texas sort of took over Florida as far as the big bass, places to catch fish at. And anyway, one of Doug's philosophies is he really felt the fish were color sensitive as far as being spooky around boats, so he painted his boat camouflage. And I did the same thing. When I got my first little flat bottom boat, I had a little 16-foot flat bottom with a 9-horse motor on it that I bought at a rummage sale for $200. The first thing I did is I went to the store and got some spray paint, and I spray painted it camouflage just like Doug's boat. Because it made perfectly sense. It made perfect sense that in clear water, bass are wary, they're smart, especially big bass. And I was following Doug's advice by trying to camouflage my boat. So anyway, in the ensuing years, when I finally went to fiberglass rigs, obviously you couldn't have a camouflage fiberglass rig. This was before wraps. Then you had to have the color options for the holes available. And back then, there wasn't a lot of different options. For many, many years, the only options you had were like a white hole or a black hole. And then when you got into the 90s, there were some grays and all that type of stuff. But here's my opinion on it. And I've taken the time to really sort of look back and study throughout the years as far as my best seasons versus my not so great seasons. In correlation with the boat color that I ran, because in my own career, ever since I started fishing bass boats back, in the 80s, and when I started my professional career in 1986, I only had two colors of holes. I either had a black hole or I had a white hole. And looking back through the years that I really, really kicked butt and dominated and had exemplary careers and won tournaments, almost every boat that I had that had a white hole, the bottom was white, I usually did better. I usually caught more fish. And a lot of people that I've talked to and a lot of people that have, spent a lot of time, observing this, they seem to think that on a white hole in a clear water environment, when you're looking up, that white blends, it's more like a sky color, and that the bass aren't quite as bothered by it. Now, if you look up and see black, that's not real natural. Obviously, the bass could, be sensitive to that at some extent. But if you have a white hole, it seems like it didn't have that big of an impact. And when I look back on those years that I really did good, most every single time I had a white hole. That was back when I was running the Fujifilm boats, and those boats were wrapped, and they usually had white bottoms on it. And one of the best seasons the best run that I ever had in tournament fishing was from about, 1998 to 2004. And during the course of that period, I had a white holed boat on the bottom. Not to say that you can't catch them on different ones, because, first tournament I won, first Bassmaster tournament I won, I had a black hole, but that tournament was in muddy water, and I was fishing 2 foot of water, so the fish couldn't look up under it. So here's my theory on it. I think that if you fish any type of deeper water, like water over 7 or 8, 10 foot deep, and you're fishing water visibility that's pretty clear, like water visibility is over 3 or 4 feet, I think it makes a big difference to have a white bottomed hull or camouflage, one of the two. Possibly even like baby blue, but who has a baby blue hull? I mean, that would be ideal with the sky conditions. But I think white blends in really good because, you know, a lot of the clouds are white and just, you know, looking up from the bottom. But if you're fishing off colored water like rivers and, you know, you're in shallow water and you're flipping and pitching along the bank, probably doesn't make that much of a difference. But when you're creeping along in clear water, I think that even the sides as well as the bottom of the boat has an impact with it. I mean, we don't give bass enough credit for as aware as I think they are. It's like a lot of people think that you're going to sneak up on a fish and, you know, you're trying to be as quiet as you can when you come into a piece of cover. I think that helps, but make no mistake about it, guys. The bass know you're there. I mean, a bass can find a 2-inch long minnow in the middle of the night in 20 foot of water. So they sure in the heck can know your 20-foot bass boat is 50 or 100 foot away from them, even if you're going to be pretty quiet. But the more that you can do to try to lessen that impact, I think it always has, you know, a benefit to that. So from my study that I've done and talking to other people out there and observing other anglers out there, I'm pretty confident that I feel that I think there's an advantage to running a white hull on the bottom, not necessarily on the sides, but on the bottom. I think that can probably help you more than hurt you. Again, obviously, if you fish shallow, dirty water, not that big of a deal, but for any other situation, I think it does. And the same with you know, the sides of the boat. It's like sides of the boat probably are not quite that as important because you know, I think it's more difficult for fish to see the side of a boat unless the water is gin clear. But the bottom, I think that they can see pretty good with that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you've seen anything, if you got anything, any opinions on the thing. But from my opinion, I think that it definitely has some impact. And ideally, I would like to have a totally camouflaged boat. I mean, inside and out. But I know that's hard to do because a lot of us have sponsors and we have wraps, so you can't really, you know, do that. It's sort of just part of the territory with that. But overall, if you have a choice and you're free to make that choice, I'd stick with a lighter color bottom. I think it's going to add up to some more fish for you guys. So anyway, hope it helps out. We'll talk later.